What if we told you that a small West African country, often overlooked in global innovation, has just achieved something that even some of the world's wealthiest nations haven't? What if this nation, with zero history in automobile manufacturing, has now produced its very first electric car, one that dares to compete with models from the biggest global brands? Burkina Faso has just unveiled its first locally built electric vehicle, and this is more than just a news headline. It's a declaration that Africa is no longer content with being just a market for Western and Asian products. A declaration that self-reliance is no longer a distant dream but a reality in motion. A declaration that innovation is no longer the privilege of a few rich nations, it belongs to those who have the courage to build, even when the world least expects it. But how did Burkina Faso pull this off? How did a country with no established car industry, no massive assembly plants, and no deep financial muscle create something that instantly puts it on the global electric vehicle map? Is this a one-time success or the beginning of a revolution that could transform Africa's industrial future? And most importantly, what does this mean for the rest of the world? Before we dive in, we want to thank you for supporting us and being part of our growing community. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to join us and help us build something even stronger together. Now, let's get started. For decades, electric cars have been seen as the pinnacle of technological progress, futuristic mobility, and sustainable development. Yet every time the conversation about EV leadership comes up, the same names dominate the spotlight: Tesla in the US, Volkswagen in Germany, NIO, and BYD in China. Rarely, if ever, is Africa even mentioned. The assumption has always been that Africa is too far behind in industrialization to compete in advanced manufacturing. But Burkina Faso has just shattered that myth. Yes, Burkina Faso, a nation that almost no one expected to enter the auto industry, has now officially unveiled its first electric car. And it's not a modified import. It is a 100% homegrown creation engineered by Burkina innovators, designed for the unique challenges of African roads, and built to meet the specific needs of African drivers. This achievement is about far more than just building a vehicle. It's about proving that Africa can be a producer of high-tech innovation, not just a consumer of products from the West and Asia. It's about economic independence, industrial transformation, and a future where African nations no longer rely on expensive imports to move forward. But the key question remains: how exactly did Burkina Faso accomplish this? How did a nation with no background in automobile manufacturing succeed where even wealthier African nations have struggled? Could this be the spark of a new industrial revolution across the continent? One where more African countries follow Burkina Faso's lead and start producing advanced technologies of their own. The story of this electric car is just beginning, but one thing is already undeniable: it has changed the way the world views Africa's potential. So how did Burkina Faso make this possible? Let's break it down. And don't forget, like this video, share it, and subscribe for more deep dives into stories reshaping our world. History, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. If you asked automotive experts 5 years ago whether Burkina Faso could build its electric car, they would have laughed, not because they had anything against Burkina Faso, but because it simply seemed impossible. The country had no history in automobile manufacturing, no major assembly plants, and no supply chain for electric vehicle components. In contrast, countries like South Africa and Morocco have had foreign-backed car manufacturing industries for years, and yet neither of them has produced a fully locally designed electric vehicle. So how did Burkina Faso succeed where others haven't? The answer lies in bold leadership, an innovative local team, and a determination to break free from economic dependence on foreign powers. The company behind this groundbreaking vehicle is ITA, a Burkina-based startup focused on sustainable mobility. Rather than waiting for international investors to build an industry in Burkina Faso, ITA took matters into its own hands. They developed the car Locally sourced materials from African suppliers wherever possible and engineered the battery technology to be efficient in West Africa's climate. This is crucial because most EVs on the market are designed for Western and Chinese road conditions. Ido's car was built specifically to handle Africa's unique driving challenges. The numbers are impressive: a 30-minute fast charge time, on par with Tesla's charging technology. This isn't a symbolic project meant to attract attention. This is a serious competitive electric vehicle that meets modern efficiency standards. What makes Burkina Faso's achievement even more incredible is that it didn't rely on foreign companies for assembly or battery technology. Most global automakers, even in wealthier nations, are still heavily dependent on China for EV batteries. Burkina Faso skipped that step, choosing instead to develop and manufacture the technology locally. This decision not only keeps profits within the country, but also strengthens technological expertise among Burkina Faso engineers and workers. If this sounds familiar, it's because China followed a similar path in its rise to dominance in the EV market. Just a few decades ago, China was not a major player in automobile production. It relied heavily on imports and foreign expertise, but through consistent investment in local industries, a strong government push for self-reliance, and a commitment to technological innovation, China once lagged behind the West in electric vehicle production. Today, Chinese EVs dominate global markets. Could Burkina Faso follow the same trajectory? Could this single electric car become the launchpad for an entire automotive revolution in West Africa? That depends on whether this moment is a one-time success or the foundation of a long-term strategy. Across Africa, there have been flashes of brilliance, a groundbreaking invention here, a promising startup there, but very few have managed to scale those isolated successes into full-fledged industries. The critical question now is whether Burkina Faso's electric car will fade as just another headline, or if it marks the dawn of something far greater. Under the leadership of Captain Ibrahim Traoré, Burkina Faso insists this is no accident. This project is not a marketing gimmick, but a calculated step towards self-reliance and economic independence. The government has already expressed its commitment to scaling up production. Plans are underway to develop a local EV supply chain, ensuring that future models remain affordable and the country does not slip into dependency on expensive imports. Talks of mass production are gaining traction, which could create thousands of jobs, expand technical training for local engineers, and position Burkina Faso as a genuine leader in Africa's electric vehicle sector. The ripple effects could be transformative. At present, like many African countries, Burkina Faso spends vast sums importing cars from abroad. If it begins producing its own vehicles, those billions could instead be reinvested into the nation's infrastructure, schools, and healthcare, rather than flowing into the coffers of foreign automakers. This breakthrough is also inspiring others. Nations like Kenya, Nigeria, and South Africa have long flirted with the idea of building EV industries, but have hesitated due to cost barriers and reliance on foreign supply chains. Burkina Faso's achievement shows it can be done, that an African nation can chart its own course without waiting for Western or Chinese corporations to lead the way. Of course, the hardest part comes next: scaling up. Right now, this EV serves as a proof of concept. To make a real impact, it must be mass-produced, priced within reach of everyday Africans, and backed by a reliable charging infrastructure. That leads to an even bigger question: can Burkina Faso's electric car compete with global giants like Tesla, Volkswagen, and BYD? Skepticism is natural. After all, how could a landlocked nation with no history in auto manufacturing challenge corporations that have invested billions and refined their technology for decades? Yet that very skepticism is what makes this moment so powerful. If Burkina Faso can defy expectations once, who's to say it can't do it again? If that happens, it won't just be Burkina Faso that benefits. It could trigger a continental shift. Africa has long been seen as a consumer market for technology, developed elsewhere, but a successful locally made electric car could flip that narrative. Instead of waiting for Europe, America, or China to sell their products, African nations could begin producing their own solutions tailored to their people's needs. This would mark a turning point in Africa's industrial identity, transforming it from an importer of innovation into a producer of technology with global relevance. The ripple effect could be enormous. Neighboring countries might partner with Burkina Faso to build supply chains, share technology, and scale manufacturing across West Africa. Universities could start programs specializing in electric vehicle, engineering, and battery technology, building a new generation of African innovators. Governments across the continent, seeing Burkina Faso's success, might finally commit to serious investment in green mobility. And African consumers, often priced out of global markets, could gain access to modern, affordable transportation that doesn't rely on imported fuel. Of course, the road ahead won't be easy.